Well, senior Congress leader Digvijay Singh has stirred a hornet's nest by saying that the Congress party is going to certainly have a relook at Article 370 at a clubhouse chat. The BJP says these statements are part of a Congress toolkit and are used by Pakistan against India. The Congress has distanced itself from Digvijay Singh's statement though. Digvijay Singh hit back at his detractors, saying illiterate people do not perhaps understand the difference between shall and consider. Our political bureau with this story.
आपको रातों रात सारे नियम कानून कायदे को सारे उल्लंघन करके एक स्टेट को दो टुकड़े करके यूनियन टेरिटरी बना दिया। कौन सा नियम तोड़ा है वो बता दे, मैं उसका उत्तर दूंगा। वो तो इस तरह से जनरल बात नहीं हो सकती। ठीक है, लेकिन आप भी यूनाइटेड नेशंस की मॉनिटरिंग लोग करते हैं, वहाँ यूनाइटेड नेशन मॉनिटरिंग करता है 1948 से। साहब इतना स्पष्ट कर दे कि कांग्रेस पार्टी का स्टैंड है कि कश्मीर यूनाइटेड नेशन मॉनिटर कर सकता है, इतना स्पष्ट कर दे एक बार। नो कोई डिस्टर्बेंस, मेरा ये जानना, मैं शंका में हूं।
This was 2019 August. Heated showdown in Parliament when the Modi government decided to scrap Article 370 that accorded special status to Jammu and Kashmir, a long-standing promise of the BJP. Nearly 2 years later, politics of the historic decision has reignited, with the BJP releasing an audio clip claiming it features senior Congress leader Digvijay Singh in conversation with a Pakistani journalist. In the clubhouse chat audio, Digvijay is heard saying that the Congress will have a relook on the decision to revoke Article 370 when it comes to power.
The decision of revoking Article 370 and reducing the statehood of J&K is extremely, I would say, sad decision. And the Congress party would certainly have to have a relook on this issue.
BJP went all guns blazing against the former Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister and close aide of the Gandhis, claiming that this isn't the first time that the Congress has taken an anti-India stand. Highlighting this speech made in Parliament by the leader of opposition Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary on Article 370.
1948 में जहां यूनाइटेड नेशंस की मॉनिटरिंग हो रहे हैं, वो क्या इंटरनल मामला है? नंबर 1। शिमला एग्रीमेंट, लाहौर समझौता हम लोग किए थे, वो क्या इंटरनल मामला थे? ये बायलैटरल। कुछ दिन पहले जयशंकर जी पोम्पियो जी को कहा कि ये हमारा बायलैटरल मामला है, आप इसमें दखल अंदाज मत करो। तो फिर उसके बाद भी क्या जम्मू कश्मीर इंटरनल मामला हो सकता है? ये तरह तरह की बात है। इसलिए एग्रेसिव हूं कि जम्मू एंड कश्मीर के पीएको को आप भारत का हिस्सा नहीं मानते हो क्या? एग्रेसिव ना हो, जान दे देंगे इसके लिए। क्या बात कर रहे हो आप? एग्रेसिव होने की क्या बात कर रहे हो?
अधीर रंजन चौधरी वो तुरंत खड़े हो जाते हैं, तत्क्षणात खड़े हो जाते हैं और खड़े होकर कहते हैं नहीं 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 नहीं, ये चर्चा हम कैसे कर सकते हैं? ये तो बायलैटरल इशू है, ये आर्टिकल 370 तो द्विपक्षीय इशू है, इसमें भारत कैसे अपने आप डिस्कशन कर सकती है बिना पाकिस्तान के कंसेंट के? आज जो दिग्विजय सिंह जी ने कहा है, मुझे तो पूरा शक है कि ये पूरा का पूरा स्टेज मैनेज था। उस पत्रकार को दिग्विजय सिंह या कांग्रेस पार्टी के किसी बड़े नेता ने ही कहा होगा कि ये सवाल आप पूछना। ऐसा नहीं है कि उसने कोई रैंडम सवाल पूछ लिया, ये सब स्टेज मैनेज्ड होता है, ये टूल किट का हिस्सा है।
Despite facing a barrage of attacks from the BJP, Digvijay remained defiant. Speaking to India Today, Digvijay Singh said Congress had opposed the decision to scrap Article 370 in Parliament. He stated that the party was against the way Article 370 was abrogated without taking into confidence the people of Jammu and Kashmir. While Congress distanced itself from Digvijay's controversial remarks,
Congress party has clearly stated its position on Jammu and Kashmir in its resolution dated 6th of August 2019 of the Congress Working Committee. Well, I'll send you a copy of it again. This is the only official stance of the party. And I urge and request all senior leaders to refer to the same.
he found support from the Gupkar Alliance, a group of regional Jammu and Kashmir political parties seeking to restore Article 370.
And I'm very grateful to Digvijay Singh ji. He has realized the sentiments of the people, as other parties of the nation who have also spoken about it.
Kashmiri pundits, though, slammed the Congress leader.
कोई भी कश्मीरी पंडितों को कोई भी सुविधा ऐसी कोई नहीं थी। मैं आपको चुनौतीपूर्ण कह रहा हूं, आपने जो राजनीतियां करनी है करते रहिए, लेकिन आपको थोड़ी शर्म भी आनी चाहिए इतना भयंकर झूठ कहते हुए।
The Congress party had vociferously opposed the abrogation of Article 370, but when the BJP had attacked them, calling their stand anti-India, the grand old party had taken a more nuanced position and limited its opposition at that point of time to only the manner in which the decision was implemented on the ground. But with Digvijay Singh now saying that the Congress party will have a relook at the decision taken by the union government in 2019, if the Congress comes to power, does that mean there is a reversal in the Congress's official stand? With camera person Pradeep Gupta, Paulami Saha in Delhi for India Today.
Well, as the Union Cabinet reshuffle on the cards, Prime Minister's marathon meeting with Amit Shah and JP Nadda on Friday at 7 Lok Kalyan Marg has triggered some speculations of a possible rejig. The Prime Minister has also held meetings with several cabinet ministers over the last few days and assessed their ministry's performance. Here's a report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on a meeting spree. High-level meets with cabinet ministers. Work of more than 15 ministries have been reviewed. All this in just the last few days, prompting speculation of a possible cabinet reshuffle. Highly placed sources have told India Today that the Union Cabinet rejig is likely soon. Prime Minister Modi, in fact, met with Home Minister Amit Shah and BJP Chief JP Nadda on Friday evening. According to sources, PM has reviewed the work of over 15 ministries, including that of Agriculture, Rural Development, Petroleum and Railways. Prime Minister is meeting with cabinet leaders in batches since the last 4 days, with JP Nadda being present for all the meetings. According to reports, ministers presented their report cards along with a future roadmap of their respective ministries.
The frequent meetings between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and BJP party President JP Nadda as well as his colleagues in the Union Council of Ministers over the last few days has in fact fueled speculation of a soon-to-happen cabinet rejig. It is possibly aimed at unburdening some of his colleagues of the ministries, the handful of ministries that they have currently on their plate, as well as inducting those who've been waiting in the wings for a while of course keeping an eye on the election-bound states of 2022.
With BJP gearing up for the crucial Uttar Pradesh polls next year, the possible rejig may have fair representation from UP to bolster its equation. This even as Home Minister Amit Shah met with party allies from Uttar Pradesh, including Apna Dal's Anupriya Patel, who was a minister in the first Modi government. BJP Chief JP Nadda also held a meeting with the party general secretaries where their COVID relief work and performance in the recent assembly polls were reviewed. Modi government has not made any changes to its cabinet since forming the government for the second time in May of 2019. But will all that change with an eye on 2022 when 7 states go to polls? With Paulami Saha in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
Well, after Prashant Kishore's meeting with NCP Chief Sharad Pawar on Friday ruffled some political feathers, the NCP today has denied that the key political strategist is joining the BJP, or joining the party in fact, claiming that it was part of Pawar's efforts to unite the opposition against the BJP. Here's more.
What's cooking in Maharashtra? The state where politics always plays out like a Bollywood pot boiler. Are there some new twists and turns on the horizon? A series of recent events have lit up the political grapevines, with speculation abuzz over some fresh developments taking place. It began with BJP's Devendra Fadnavis meeting NCP Chief Sharad Pawar last week. A meeting that triggered massive speculation about what could be afoot. Whispers intensified a day later. when Fadnavis met his political foe, Eknath Khadse, at his house in Jalgaon. Shortly thereafter, Eknath Khadse called on his party chief, Sharad Pawar. A meeting that could be read into, but was called a courtesy visit. But whispers positively exploded when Khadse then met NCP MP and Pawar's daughter Supriya Sule, with speculation over whether this was about pressure being brought to bear on the Thackeray government. On June 9th, Maharashtra CM Uddhav Thackeray met with Prime Minister Modi, along with his Deputy CM Ajit Pawar and Congress leader Ashok Sawan. A meeting regarding reservation for Marathas, but significant given the symbolism. If the symbolism wasn't enough, the meeting was followed on June 11th with Sena leader Sanjay Raut, a known BJP baiter, publicly praising Prime Minister Modi.
नरेंद्र मोदी हे भारतीय जनता पक्षाचे आणि देशाचे सगळ्यात मोठे नेते आहेत आणि गेल्या 7 वर्षात भारतीय जनता पक्षाला जे यश प्राप्त झालेलं आहे ते नरेंद्र मोदी यांच्या चेहऱ्यामुळेच प्राप्त झाले हे नाकारता येणार नाही ते स्वीकारले पाहिजे.
And the latest, a meeting between Maharashtra strongman NCP chief Sharad Pawar and election strategist Prashant Kishore over lunch in Mumbai. A month after the famous Bengal victory, was 2024 on the table? With these meetings setting off speculation, Pawar added fuel to the fire by declaring without really being asked that the Maha Vikas Aghadi government would last its full term.
आणि त्यामुळे कोणी काही शंका घेतली तर शिवसेनेनं ज्या पद्धतीनं त्या कालखंडामध्ये भक्कमपणाची भूमिका घेतली ती भूमिका सोडण्याच्या बद्दलचं काही या ठिकाणी केलं जाईल असं जे काही अदाकी कुणी मांडत असतील ते वेगळ्या नंदनवनात जातात एवढंच या ठिकाणी मी सांगू इच्छितो. म्हणून हे सरकार टिकेल 5 वर्ष काम करेल.
So is any realignment on the cards in Maharashtra? NCP has rejected all rumours about Prashant Kishore joining hands with the party. Interestingly, NCP insisted that Pawar wanted to unite opposition, hinting at major efforts to give a credible poll challenge to BJP.
पवार साहब की इच्छा है कि देश में सारे विपक्षी दलों को एकजुट करने का काम किया जाए. वो लगातार ये बातें करते आए हैं. एक सशक्त मोर्चा भारतीय जनता पार्टी के खिलाफ खड़ा किया जाए.
3 months ago in March, both Sharad Pawar and Home Minister Amit Shah were in Ahmedabad, amidst intense speculation of a meeting between the two. Neither confirmed meeting, but political pundits saw it as mounting pressure on Uddhav Thackeray. While the NCP has evaded clear answers, the Shiv Sena has denied rumours of a patch-up with the BJP. But the series of meetings and movements has ignited huge buzz over a political realignment in the offing. With Kamlesh Sutar in Mumbai, Bureau Report, India Today.
In other political developments, after more than 2 decades, Akali Dal and BSP have once again joined hands in Punjab and will be contesting next year's assembly elections together. Both the parties have finalized a seat-sharing pact and made its formal announcement today. Here's a full report.
आज पंजाब दी सियासत विच एक नवा दिन है.
Battleground Punjab is heating up ahead of 2022 contest. On Sunday, a new political alliance takes shape in the state. After more than 2 decades, two erstwhile partners, Shiromani Akali Dal and Mayawati's Bahujan Samaj Party, have joined hands again. The announcement was made at a joint presser in Chandigarh.
आज पंजाब
ਦੀ ਸਿਆਸਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਨਵਾਂ ਦਿਨ ਹੈ। ਸ਼੍ਰੋਮਣੀ ਅਕਾਲੀ ਦਲ ਤੇ ਬਹੁਜਨ ਸਮਾਜ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਵਿਧਾਨ ਸਭਾ ਹਲਕਾ 2022 ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਵੀ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਲੜਾਂਗੇ।
ये गठबंधन 25 साल आपस में बिछड़ने के बाद दोबारा हुआ है। बहुजन समाज पार्टी का हर कार्यकर्ता इस गठबंधन का तहे दिल से स्वागत कर रहा है।
आप संघर्ष करो।
BSP chief Mayawati described the alliance as a new political and social initiative in Punjab. She sought the support for the alliance in the upcoming polls, alleging that under Congress, Dalits, farmers and youth are suffering. The two parties joined hands 27 years after the 1996 Lok Sabha elections. Both parties have finalized their seat-sharing agreement. BSP will fight on 20 out of 117 Punjab Assembly seats, while Akali Dal will contest Assembly elections on 97 seats. The alliance with BSP is a bid by Akalis to woo Dalit votes in the state, who make up nearly 32% of the total population in Punjab. The party has also promised a Dalit Deputy Chief Minister if it wins elections in 2022. The Akalis earlier had a tie-up with the BJP, and the Badal-led party walked out of the NDA over the farm laws issue last year. The alliance has redrawn the battle lines in the state, declaring Congress, BJP and Aam Aadmi Party as political foes.
कांग्रेस के साथ हमारा नहीं गठबंधन हो सकता क्योंकि उस पार्टी ने हमारे गुरुधामों पे हमला किया है। आम आदमी पार्टी के साथ नहीं हो सकता है क्योंकि वो उन्होंने जो जैसे पंजाब की माहौल खराब किया है उनका बहुत बड़ा रोल है। बीजेपी को हमने छोड़ दिया है। सो हम चाहते हैं कि बाकी जो पार्टी है जो सारी हैं हम इकट्ठे होके एक ही प्लेटफॉर्म हमने एक बना दिया है।
With eye on 2022 polls, the Akalis are making every bid to woo the voters in Punjab. But will these moves pay political dividends? Is what remains to be seen. With Satyendra and Manjeet Sehgal in Chandigarh, Bureau Report, India Today.
Heat is mounting on PNB fraud accused and fugitive diamond merchant Mehul Choksi. India Today has now accessed the details of India's affidavit filed before the Dominican court. In this affidavit, the Indian probe agencies have said that Choksi is the mastermind of the scam. The Enforcement Directorate has also said they have found evidence that relates to layering of fund and laundering money through dummy firms and market operators. They've also said that round-tripping has taken place in a fraudulent manner in countries like the UAE, Hong Kong. The agencies have also cited the red corner notice, which was issued against Mehul Choksi by the Interpol on the complaint that has been made by the Indian government as he was absconding and accused in this case. Well, on the 22nd of May, a woman under suspicious circumstances went missing from one of Chennai's biggest hospitals. A few weeks later, her decomposed body was found on the 8th floor from the same hospital. Our next report tells you more.
This is 41-year-old Sunitha, who was admitted to Chennai's Rajiv Gandhi Government Hospital on May 22nd after having breathing difficulties. After giving her lunch that day, her husband Molly left for home, and that was the last time that he saw his wife. Shockingly, Sunitha went missing from the hospital the very next day, and authorities were clueless about her whereabouts. Her mysterious disappearance took a tragic turn when on the 8th of June, Sunitha was found dead and lying decomposed on the 8th floor of the very same Rajiv Gandhi Hospital. Her husband narrates the horror.
First I asked to the doctors. They told absconded by then.
And then?
First I didn't believe how she absconded and all. So that's why, because of suspect and all, I gone to the police and complained. And on 8th again I gone there. On 8th day I think I identified the dead body on 8th floor.
What's worse is the bizarre defense by the hospital.
And she was not found in the body.
Okay. So they have intimated to the police memo, RMO and everything. Police was intimated. Only way you could have entered into the place is only by the lift.
Tamil Nadu government has now stepped in with the health minister promising action.
Police investigate பண்ணிருக்காங்க அது அவங்களோட அறிக்கைக்கு பிறகு நடவடிக்கை எடுக்கும். Right.
A patient admitted to Rajiv Gandhi Hospital on 21st May night went missing on 23rd, only to be recovered as a decomposing body on 8th June. The matter has become big and the health minister claims that they are waiting for the police report to take appropriate action while the patient's family is grieving, trying to find out what exactly happened. With video journalist Divyan, Pramod Madhav for India Today.
While several state governments are easing lockdown restrictions owing to a steady decline in active cases, COVIDians are violating social distancing norms heavily across the country. These visuals are from UP's Muradabad, where thousands of people can be seen violating COVID protocol at a vegetable market. As the shops and establishments open for business after more than a month, people throng the vegetable market without wearing masks and without maintaining social distancing. Well, this shows how Indians are failing to adhere to COVID safety protocol and endangering millions of lives. In Madurai, stray animals are starving amid a lockdown in the state. Temples closed for a month. Now monkeys who are dependent on the temple for the food are now wandering in deserted premises. 10 fruit vendors from the city have chipped in to feed over 1,000 monkeys. Take a look at this report.
Lockdown has been hard not only for humans but also for animals. So fruit vendors in Madurai in Tamil Nadu decided to step in and help 1,000 odd hungry monkeys at a temple. The famous Thiruparankundaram Murugan temple in Madurai has been lying deserted for the past 1 month due to the lockdown. Usually over 1,000 monkeys wander its premises in search of food and get fed by devotees, vendors and tourists. But now with the temple shut, around 10 fruit vendors like Prabhu have come to their rescue.
இப்போ நாங்கள் அங்கே ஒர்க் பண்ணுறதுனால அழிவு நிலைக்கு போகக்கூடிய உள்ள பழங்கள் மற்றும் காய்கறிகளை வந்து மார்க்கெட்டில் ஒரு டீமை ஃபார்ம் பண்ணி அங்கேருந்து எடுத்துகிட்டு வந்து வாரத்தில் ஒரு 3 லோடு அப்படின்ற கணக்கில் ஒரு நாளைக்கு 2 டன் அப்படின்ற கணக்கில் கொண்டு வந்து டெய்லி சப்ளை பண்ணிகிட்ருக்கோம்.
Many individuals and communities have come together to look after stray animals in their localities amid the lockdown, proving that a friend in need is a friend indeed. Bureau Report, India Today.